Okay, Google, what's the best way to start a YouTube video?
Well, first of all, you should probably already know how to do this. You've been making YouTube videos for 7 or 8 months now, yeah? If you can't do the simplest part of anything, let alone a video, you should probably give up altogether. I'm not trying to sound like a dick or anything, but let's be real. No one will watch it anyway.
Okay, enough of that. What's going on, folks? Zach from Uchuu Shelf here. Hopefully you guys out there are doing good. Hopefully you guys are reading lots of manga. I want to talk to you guys about a manga that I've owned for about 4 years, but I have not gotten around to reading until recently. And what a coincidence. There's an anime adaptation airing soon, and I want to talk to you guys about Q Hayashida's Dorohedoro. So let's jump into it. Dorohedoro is set in this post-apocalyptic world in which there are 2 different dimensions that have been split apart. One of them is the Whole, which is this run-down junkyard of a city, and the other is a world in which sorcerers inhabit. Now, sorcerers are exactly what you expect them to be. They're magic users, and there's actually a very clear difference between humans and sorcerers in Dorohedoro. The difference being that humans can't cast magic, and sorcerers have an organ which produces this black smoke, which is the source of their magic, and they're able to cross dimensions using these magical doors, whereas humans can only stay in the Whole. And because of this, the Whole has become somewhat of a petri dish / testing ground for sorcerers to come over, find humans, and test out their spells, just to see what they can do. The story follows a man named Caiman, who himself was a victim of a sorcerer's experiment. Now, this experiment left him with a reptile's head and absolutely no memory of his life prior. In searching for his real identity, it comes about that Caiman is actually immune to magic, which makes him simultaneously a threat to sorcerers and an object of obsession for malicious forces. One of which is a powerful syndicate of sorcerers known as the N family, which sends in some of its best assassins in hopes of snuffing out Caiman. And even in spite of all this danger, Caiman and his best friend Nikaido both decide to team up and find out just exactly what happened to Caiman and what his life was before he became a lizard-headed anti-magic dude. Now, this series really hits the ground running and wastes absolutely no time jumping into what makes this series so unique, strange, and badass. So for example, the first page of the first chapter, and remember, Caiman is a guy with a lizard head. You just see him swallowing another dude's head. You have no context as to what's going on. You have no idea if the lizard guy is the bad guy or the good guy. That's just the first thing you see when you jump into Dorohedoro. Now, 2 pages later, it gets weirder. You find out that there is a human head inside the lizard head. Now, even weirder, Caiman's lizard head and this human head, which may or may not be Caiman, can't communicate. And the reason he is swallowing people, he's swallowing sorcerers I should add, is to find out if that is the sorcerer that experimented on him. Now, 2 other really cool things you see in the first chapter. You see a full-on beheading, I should just add. That's, again, first chapter material, so that should give you the perfect overall tone for how just gritty and badass Dorohedoro is. And you actually get to see a lot of the magic, not explained, but just used. Like, for example, you see the sorcerer say, nah, screw this, I'm out, and just summon a door and just dip. Now, the world building in Dorohedoro is actually some of the best I've seen in manga in quite some time, to be perfectly honest. It's very clearly crafted, very carefully done and planned out. You can see that there's such an amount of love and care that have gone into the world of this series. And it's not just represented in the storytelling itself. It's represented in, like, the landscapes, the way the characters interact, and just all these general little details. Now, one of the things I really liked is that human experimentation from sorcerers is so commonplace in the Whole that there are specific hospitals set up to treat people. And that there's no rhyme and reason to just what an experiment from a sorcerer is. Like, Caiman, for example, he was experimented on by a sorcerer. He's got a lizard head. You see just random people walk around. There's a guy with like a penguin head. There's like bug people. That's not even the weirdest stuff I've seen. Like, I can't even begin to describe some of the weird shit that I've read and seen in Dorohedoro. Now, one thing I did really like about Dorohedoro was how well the characters are written. Specifically the relationship between Nikaido and Caiman. Now, usually whenever a man and a woman are just in the same group and general vicinity and are main characters, there is always some kind of thing about them falling in love. That's just how it is. That's just how entertainment always seems to go. And it's boring. I'll just admit it. It's boring that, like, there's a man, there's a woman, and they absolutely 100% have to have child-friendly YouTube channel by the end of it. So it's really refreshing to see Caiman and Nikaido just being really good friends and genuinely caring about each other in a way that's not romantic. And their relationship is just so playful. So Nikaido owns a restaurant called The Hungry Bug. and she is just walking to open it up one day. She has some ingredients, and she sees this, what she assumes to be a vagrant, which later turns into a sorcerer, and says, you know what, if you're hungry, come to the restaurant, I'll give you some food. And the guy goes, you know what, I'm actually a sorcerer, and I'm going to turn you into a bug. So he does exactly that, and Caiman comes in, and instead of going, oh, what the hell, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to fight you, he looks at Nikaido and he goes, you look like shit. You look terrible. Why would you let this guy turn you into a bug? Now, as a red-blooded American male, and only one of those is true, so I'm not sure why I said that. I love fighting, I love blood, I love gore, I love guts, I love everything about it, and Dorohedoro delivers on absolutely all of it. And the thing about violence in a lot of series is that sometimes it's shoehorned in to just kind of make everything seem more mature and edgy and interesting. But honestly, it fits so well into here, it doesn't feel like gratuitous or out of place. Like, the whole is so run down, decrepit, and just disgusting that if there was no violence whatsoever, that would feel out of place. Now, one of the little world building aspects of Dorohedoro that I really enjoyed was the fact that all these sorcerers have different little masks. Like, for example, there's a guy named Fujita who has just kind of like a tengu looking like bird mask. Shin, who's one of the main villains, has a full-headed mask that makes it look like just a human heart, that I actually thought was that was just his head at first, but no, it ended up being a mask. And the cool thing I thought about it is that the masks don't only enhance magical power, they're a way to kind of set the differences between the two societies of humans and sorcerers. Like, you don't see humans walking around with masks. I mean, yeah, you see them with like lizard heads and other weird deformed shit, but a mask is strictly only for sorcerers. Now, honestly, I absolutely loved everything about Dorohedoro. I had a few small gripes that aren't even that big of a deal to turn me away from it. I don't really like some of the villains. Like, N is kind of just your stereotypical generic head of a mafia family kind of guy who he takes no shit. He's obviously like the guy that nobody wants to screw with. I realize that every series has to have an enemy like that to some degree, but it's just, there's nothing really that differentiates, especially in Dorohedoro, N from like any other generic mafia boss. And another is Shin, who's this sorcerer antagonist. He's got the heart head mask. He's a cool guy, and I want to see more of his magic. His whole mantra of like, I'm not going to use magic on a human because they can't use magic back at me, is just so played out and just cliche. It was a little jarring, I will admit, but I can look past it. It's not that big of a deal. Now, one thing that I absolutely, really, and I can't specify this enough, really love, is how magic in Dorohedoro is portrayed. Now, in pretty much every single fantasy story to ever exist, magic is like the good thing. It's always portrayed positively. If you have magic, you're typically a good guy unless you're like a bad wizard or something. But regardless, it's always portrayed in a positive light. In Dorohedoro, magic is portrayed negatively, and I've never seen that done in fiction, and it's done so well here. Because sorcerers are obviously the de facto bad dudes of Dorohedoro, and if you're a human, you do not want to go up against a sorcerer. So there is nothing good to a human about magic at all. The only people in the story that benefit from magic are the enemies, the sorcerers themselves. Now, aside from the incredible world building, characters, and storytelling, the art is just phenomenal. I think Hayashida absolutely smashed how she portrayed the whole, how she portrays all these characters, even with the fact that Caiman's head is like this lizard guy. He's one of the most expressive and emotive characters in Dorohedoro. It's crazy how well everything about Dorohedoro is done. So there you have it, folks. My first impressions of Hayashida's Dorohedoro. If you guys have read this series, drop a comment below, let me know what you guys think of it, or hit me up on Twitter at Uchuu. No spoilers though, I really want to go into this blind, and I'm really bad about like looking up spoilers and stuff for when I start a new series. I want to make this my exception for the year. I want to go into this knowing absolutely nothing about it. I'm probably going to hold off on even watching the anime, not that I have a choice because I'm fairly certain Netflix has it. Rest in peace. And hey, thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget to support legal manga. Go to www.wherecanIreadmanga.com to get the lowdown on where you can read manga for free through a subscription or per volume, and do it all legally, supporting the industry and supporting the creators. And if you're into podcasts, don't forget to check out mine and Callum from On the Shelves podcast, Between the Shelves. I'll leave some links in the description below. You guys can check that out. We only have 2 episodes out. 3rd episode definitely coming in 2020. 100% coming this year for sure. Which month, week, or day, neither of us is privy to yet. So we'll let you know as soon as we do. And as always, happy reading.